Hello and welcome to the Controller Talk podcast presented by Danfoss North America. Our goal is to bring you information about using Danfoss controls in the supermarket and warehouse industry, specifically in the US and Canada. We're doing these twice a month for now. You can catch these podcasts wherever you get your podcasts, and it's also available through the Danfoss Rough Tools app. For the video version, check us out on the Danfoss North America YouTube page. Search for Controller Talk to see our video collection. I'm Dave Yoder, along with Chris Brown. Chris, we're in the thick of college basketball March Madness right now.
Late night last night. Blood pressure a little elevated, like I said. So Maryland made it on to Thursday night.
Maryland survived. That's all that matters.
They did.
And how's your bracket look? Next question?
Yeah, on to other things.
Well, you're ahead of me in the bracket, so take that for what it's worth.
There's a lot of people out of both of us.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, college basketball is really big in Canada, you know.
That's what I've heard.
Okay.
That's what I've heard.
Excellent.
It's a global sport now.
Oh, well, obviously, yeah. Hey, today, Chris, we are bringing in a guy who's well known in the refrigeration industry.
We had to pay hefty for this one.
Yeah, we did. Had to shake down a few people just to get the funds. But today we're pleased to bring in Trevor Matthews of Refrigeration Mentor fame, and we would like to ask him a bunch of questions, kind of wide-ranging, and kind of put him in front of the camera, so to speak, in a different way. But Trevor, it's really good to have you with us, and in just a minute, Chris is going to start off.
Awesome. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to have me on the show. I've been listening to it for quite a while, and both of you have been on my show. We see each other at events, and the big thing is that you guys are always trying to help the technicians out there in the field and support them, and that's really what I love about you guys.
Yep. No, like Dave said, definitely appreciate you jumping in with us here. So we'll get right into it, I think, right?
Yep.
All right, Trevor, we'll get right into the tough questions. So first thing I've got for you is just this industry. Some people might say it's a little bit of a niche industry, right? And everybody kind of knows each other. It's close-knit a lot of times. What are some creative things employers can do to keep people in this industry?
That's a really great question. I think it's as we evolve is to challenge them. I think that's a big thing, as well as support them. I know a lot of the companies and contractors that I work with, I try to give their teams challenges that week, that month in our training programs, which gives them something to work towards. Not always going to put out a fire, not always going to, you know what I mean? Because that's what we do. We're going out there every day to put out fires. But I talk with some contractors to make it fun. You know what I mean? What's that challenge at the end of the month? Who solves the most problems? Who solves the hardest problem? And make it a challenge against within the team. Where they work together, but they also, strive to solve more problems.
Yeah. Good. I think along that same line, we see people from all different spectrums, from people that have been in the industry for years, to guys that are just starting out, design engineers to mechanics, just your personal experience. What are some of the biggest benefits you see to being in the refrigeration industry? And then on the flip side, what are some of the biggest challenges you've seen from people you interact with?
Oh yeah. So some of the biggest benefits for sure is a different challenge each day. It's not the same all the time. You can make really good money. You can travel the world. I worked all over the world for supermarket refrigeration. You can travel anywhere. And I think those are some of the key things. Some of the drawbacks is that we're by ourselves a lot, in our truck. 12 hours a day, we're working long hours. Either we want to, or sometimes we don't want to. So I think that's some of the biggest challenges, as well as support. Like a lot of the technicians that come into our technical training programs are like, Trevor, I don't have anyone really to call. Like when I'm out there in the middle of the night, I'm always like a phone call away, but I don't, but if I call them, sometimes I get not ridicule, but I get like, why are you calling me for this easy question? Or so that people get nervous about calling. So there's a dynamic there, because at 2:00 in the morning, there's not a lot of support team calls waiting for, you know what I mean? So you're by yourself, which I was for a long time. I felt like, you know what I mean? So I think that's some of the challenges that some technicians tell me about: mental stress, physical stress. But you put the work in and the time in, it gets a lot easier, because when you know how to troubleshoot something and confidently, and it's a well rewarding job, and you can do well financially.
I agree with you there. And maybe this segues nicely into this next question, but you personally, again, you were right there in the thick of it in the industry for a long time. A lot of people know, and then you've obviously landed where you are now and doing what you do day to day. What led you to kind of creating this niche that you're in now?
Well, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things. I was a supermarket technician who struggled. Like honestly, I spent many years sitting at rack just looking at them and they're not working. I'm like, what do I do? And then I break something, then I break something else, and then okay, or I change parts and it doesn't work. And then I started to get better, but it took me 6, 7, 8, way too long to where I felt super confident. And why I started this is to really help those technicians who are 5 or 6 years in there, or contractors who are like, the guys, I know they can do it, but they just need that confidence. You know what I mean? That little kick in the butt to get going. And I think I light a fire under a lot of technicians who take my programs, especially this latest one. I got a call on Friday from a guy who took my course, and he's 10 years in HVAC and 2 years in supermarket. And within that weekend, he did half of it in the weekend. He sent me a call, and I love when I get these calls. He's like, Trevor, I had a lead technician go out and they misdiagnosed it. I was on call in the weekend, got the same call. It was a plugged check valve. He sent me pictures and everything. And I'm like, that is amazing. You know what I mean? That I could help that technician do that so quickly in a couple hours.
I think it's so easy to be on a call, and we see parts of it because we're supporting guys, but the guys that are out there, they could be out there for 6, 8, 10 hours. Maybe they have to go out there multiple days, and then it's a 5-minute fix sometimes. And so, yeah, I think anything anybody can do, including what you're doing now, try to make their life easier and less frustrating. I agree. I think it, back to the original question, helps keep people in the industry, helps keep them motivated, keeps them going.
Yeah. Makes them a better employee, makes them really more money for their company, makes them appreciated more. It's all good. Yeah. Hey, we're going to switch gears just a touch here. Couple of things I was wondering about. Do you ever take a holiday or vacation?
People ask me that all the time. I'm going down to Pittsburgh to the NSARC event this week. That's a vacation.
Low bar for vacations, huh?
Yeah, I love doing this stuff. That's one thing is like when I can make a difference in technicians' lives, and you know, because I had all that stress driving around the truck and like leaving a call. Did I fix it or not fix it? Where I know now the things to check. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can teach someone so much faster now than I was taught, you know, and that's the thing. So do I take vacation? Yeah, of course I do. What I've learned over the last few years is really plan and schedule myself. And honestly, I'm still getting better. I'm still using, but when I use my calendar, which I never use as a technician because nobody ever taught me about a calendar, which is go to this job, go to that job, go to this job, and then your day ended whenever it ended. Yeah. Where now I work with technicians, like let's build your own schedule. You know what I mean? But Trevor, I don't know my schedule. Well, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. you're on the clock. That's what I say. Because you might only work 8 hours that day. The 4 hours a day, maybe get your gym time in, you get time with the kids, whatever it is, you know. So if you start planning and scheduling yourself, it can be done, and technicians can do it. It just is building those habits.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So I was wondering, what is the number one question people ask you? It could be anything, really.
That's a great question. Probably the last question you just asked. You ever take a vacation?
Nailed it.
Yeah. No. One of the questions is like, how long does it take to become an expert at supermarket refrigeration and commercial refrigeration, or get really good at it? And I tell them it takes time. Some people can learn it honestly within a year or two. You can be really, really good. Better than people that have been doing it for 10 years. And some other people it's going to take 7 or 8 years. Some may take even longer. It's how much you want to invest. You want to start investing in yourself and learning, because you can learn it really fast, supermarket refrigeration. But if you just go do your calls each day, you will learn. But it's going to take you a long time versus you go do your calls each day and you spend 20 minutes a night reading a manual, studying a refrigeration book, taking a refrigeration course, getting a coach or a mentor to help support you each week. You're going to fast track, and that's just the way it is. It's going to level up your pay. It's going to level up your knowledge and your support and your confidence level. And that's a big one. I work with a lot of technicians who I give them the confidence to go, they already know how to do the stuff. But like I said, I light a fire under them, and man, they're solving problems that they probably were solving before, but now they think about it. It's like, man, I'm doing such a great job now. Where it's usually thinking about, oh, I made this mistake here, I made that mistake there, and hard on themselves, because I used to do the same thing. And now if they're like, man, I did 20 jobs, I did 2 not very good jobs, but those other 23 jobs or whatever, I crushed it.
Yeah.
And in some ways they have the key to it all, because they're right there on site and have the model numbers of the valves and the other components, if you're talking about the rack maybe, and they can see exactly how it's piped. So I'm with you. For somebody trying to do that remotely versus just being able to put their eyes on it, it can make a big difference if they're willing to invest.
Yeah. I'm sure you've heard the saying that when you think you understand it all, you probably don't.
I don't understand anything. People are like, oh, Trevor, you're so good at CO2 refrigeration. Like, you're everywhere I go around the world, they're like, you're the CO2 guy. The thing is like, I'm brand new. I feel like I don't know very much about CO2.
And it changes as soon as you understand something. It's like something new came out, a new design or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I borrowed a saying from the IT industry that I shared with our training guy, Ernie. And it's not meant to be a downer. It's just kind of perspective. It's that if you understand it, it's obsolete.
Yeah. Ernie's a great guy too. I like that dude.
Yeah.
But you're totally right. Like, one great thing about this industry, and this is what I keep telling a lot of people who are in it or new to it, is like, it just continues to evolve. Yeah. Where us as human beings, we like something different. You know, we don't always like change, but we like the evolution of things. Because when you start doing the same thing day in, day out, I see a lot of these certain technicians in HVAC industry. I have a lot of people come to my supermarket program, and they're like, Trevor, it's so repetitive now. I'm working on this air handling unit all the time, or this makeup air, and it's the same day in, day out. I want to try something different. They get into the supermarket after a year or two. It's like, it's different every day. I'm working on a rack, or I'm working on a walk-in or an ice machine or some controls. And, you know, it's not always easy, but they got something to learn and look forward to.
Yeah. Yep. I was wondering, does your wife take you grocery shopping?
Oh, that's a great question.
Because I can see you being a little distracted.
Yeah, I do take pictures all the time. I was in a Costco last week. I think we were in there shopping with the kids, and I'm like, oh man, that piping's done really nicely. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, that's something that I should promote, you know, and then talk to people, because the technicians, I really try to tell them in my program, like, have pride in your work and tell people about it. Like, don't be afraid to say, listen, I've done this. Is there any way I could have done it maybe better? You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's hard to take criticism, because I get it all the time on social media and stuff. You know what I mean? But
the nature of the beast there.
How do I get better? You know what I mean? Like, and this is what I used to tell my service managers. If I make a mistake, tell me. Like, if I get a call back, tell me, because how do I get better if somebody else goes out and does my job and complains about it? Yeah. You know what I mean? I need to know. I want to get better. I want to fast track my knowledge. So
yeah. So the last question for me for this round before I throw it back to Chris, I was wondering, what's your take on this? Do you think the industry is tougher for a guy in his 20s or a guy in his early 60s at this point?
Oh, for sure. Someone in their early 60s. Just because we lift compressor. You guys got bought compressors. They're not light. You know what I mean? Even if you work smart and you have people helping, it's up and down ladders. Where a guy needs 20, and a guy in the 60s, they used to have a pager like me, you know what I mean, or a mic phone. They didn't have at their fingertips all these manuals. So I think today it might be a little difficult, as well as the rapid change. We were in the refrigeration industry, say from the mid 80s or the 90s all the way up to, say, 2010. It was kind of similar. You know what I mean? When CO2 came into the play. Now CO2 it's all electronics, it's controls. We did have controls. So, you know, the Danfoss, you started getting in there in the early 2000s, we'll say, but now it's full on, everything's controlled. That whole system, case controllers, racks. And so there's more complexity to it. And I think it's easier to learn at a young age than, not easier, but there's just a lot to learn for us. And when you're like, okay, retirement's in 5 years. How much do I want to invest?
Right. And young people will learn differently. You know, that's why videos and social media are so powerful.
So Trevor, with your program, and for anybody that maybe isn't aware, but I know you do a lot remotely, but is there anything in person you're offering right now, or is it mainly just remote?
So I do a lot of events where I'll go to AHR, NSARC. That's kind of a lot of the in-person stuff I do, as I'm honestly trying to make an impact on a lot of people. I get calls almost on a weekly basis. Can you come out to my facility? And I'll get 25 techs in a room. I'm like, that will cost you way more money and way more time than me teaching them how to learn or how to go out in the field and fix some stuff that week. Because I've done it for years. When I used to work for a manufacturer, I'd go in on a 1 day, 2 day, and 3 day training. They were great. Don't get me wrong. But that means those technicians aren't out in the field working, not making money. They're learning stuff, but I'm putting so much knowledge into them or sharing so much information, they're not retaining half of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I meet with them they could have people in 6, 8, 10 states. I do some trainings with them all over the country. I'm doing a training with all these different people, and they're meeting each other for the first time. Now they're making a connection with people in there, and then they go out and do field assignments. So because mine's all continuing education. So, and I teach them when you're going out to a rack, okay, these are the things to look for. Here's how you check this or check that. Go out this week and actually do that stuff. Where when I used to do it in the classroom, it's great. I love the crowd. I love being in front of people and talking with them, but I can make a bigger impact if I meet with them a couple hours a week and they go out in the field and actually do it. And then they come back and we talk about it, and then they go do something else. And then over time, they're actually building these skills, as you guys know.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So if you kind of put the focus on another area of the industry and manufacturers, what are some things you think manufacturers could be doing better to help people learn their own products? And then from a design standpoint as well, anything you feel they could do to help from a design standpoint for technicians?
Oh, great question. Here, how can I help them out? Okay. Well, I work with all of them. I think one thing is to connect with your customers. How do you connect with them? Now, it's like you said earlier, Chris, it's social media, it's videos. How do you make an impact on their life? I know a lot of people coming into the Refrigeration Mentor Hub, which is a free community where they come in and they talk about it. It's not only the technical side that the technicians need. It's a lot of the mental side and that support. Like I said earlier, 12 hours a day in the truck by yourself, and you drive 3 hours one way, you do 2 hours at the job, 3 hours to another job, and back and forth. It's tough, right? So I think the manufacturers need to not only help on the technical side, but how do you support them in ways that are not, I guess, the way it's been done before.
Okay.
So that's one way, I think. Another way for the technical side, I think a lot of it is, I think I even see you guys do some of it, is kind of have like a workflow in your controllers, kind of like those wizards, you know what I mean, that walk them step by step through. I think that's one way to help them out. But I think it's a slow progress. It's continuing to engage them in not only the technical side, because you want them to have the technical knowledge so they go in there. But I think there's other ways, gamifying stuff. I do a lot of that. Polling questions, nobody wants the sales stuff. That's one of the biggest things that people technicians come to my training. I usually go to a training and it's like a sales training. I've been to all these wholesaler trainings and this, and it's like they're trying to sell me something. And that's what it feels like in the training. And I know it's not always that case, right? But that's the feel they get. How do you change that feeling to where, man, they just were here for me, not for the product?
Yeah, they want help on what they're going to have to deal with day to day in emergency situations. Not here's the product, here's what it is, that type of thing, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of curious what's your take on? You remember years ago, you opened up a box and there was a valve or a controller or something in it, and there was a manual in there too. Do you think that it would help to have paper products that go out with the parts, or is a QR code and a website good enough?
That's a great question, because I know when I was at the manufacturer, I was like, why isn't all the information in there? Why isn't the manual in there? Because you might have a QR code, but that person might not even know how to scan a QR code.
Yeah.
You know, what's a QR code? So I think both is the option, which is not great for the planet because we're using more material, but if they don't know how to scan a QR code or they don't have a phone, You know what I mean? Because we got luxury where we got phones now. Most technicians will have a phone or a tablet here in North America, but the rest of the world, they don't have a phone. Like, so how do they learn? So it's because I'm thinking on a global scale. I'm working with people all around the world, not just here in North America, where we have like a higher standard than some places with technology and like knowledge. Like here in Canada, we got apprenticeship programs, which is amazing. But still, other parts of the world don't have that.
I think it can be a nice surprise for a guy that opens up an enclosure on top of a case for a case controller and sees the manual sitting right in there.
Yeah, true. Yep.
And even if we had 10% of those people read it, only 10%, that's an impact, right?
Yep.
That's true. That's right. So what excites you about the next 5 to 10 years of supermarket refrigeration?
Oh, I love that question. For sure, it's going to be naturals and CO2. I see a ton of changes happening. I know we just heard that there's kind of a slowdown or brakes pumped on how the changes in the US are coming. You know what I mean? Where the dates are going to change, which is fine. But I'm super excited to see the evolution of CO2. I'm excited to see more propane, even ammonia, like all these different or new natural refrigerants, how they're going to play a role. Because lots of people are like, oh, it's inefficient and it's more expensive. Everything when it first comes out is more expensive. But you guys seen the cost of what you guys to build stuff 8, 10, 15 years ago for CO2 versus now is way lower, because now you can sell more. You're not selling one or two of them. Now you can sell thousands of them, where you can make it more price competitive, and you don't have to change your lineups. Well, we know this product works and we get more of them out there. So it really helps the supply chain. But I'm excited about the technology as it continues to evolve for both those cases. I do most of my trainings are not on CO2 right now. Like it's a lot, mostly a HFC and HFO and refrigerants, but technicians need to learn it all. You know what I mean? In the supermarket industry. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited for more augmented reality happening within the supermarket industry, as well as how we can implement more video technology to help the technicians out there. Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that AI will not replace the technician.
No, it won't. But I'm super excited to see more of that. I use a ton of AI now. Like I even have working on AI education app and support app for technicians to really help them, right? Be able to have a conversation, to have that lead tech, something that I was always a phone call away, but I never had someone I could bounce ideas off of all the time. And that's kind of what I'm building, an AI app to help the technicians while they're driving for 3 hours. Maybe they can have, ask some questions, be like, how do I deal with a customer, or how do I deal with this technical situation, and not just spit out a repository of answers. It has a conversation with them. You know what I mean? And have a video pop up. Okay, here, this is how you check this. Is this what you're looking for? And things like that.
I could see that. Even playing into a guy that for the next call, that example you just gave, he's 3 hours driving to his next site. If he knows what the problem is, that could maybe help give him some insight before he gets there and speed up the time he's going to spend on site.
Help him narrow it down.
Because that's calls we've gotten in the past is, hey, I'm going to this store. Can you tell me what's going on? Or maybe an idea what to look at when I get there.
Get them thinking a certain direction.
Right. Yeah. I could play into that.
Yep. Hey, Trevor, as you know, that I do enjoy stumping Chris on questions.
I'm a lot more relaxed today, and it's for a reason.
That's right. So we thought we'd ask if you're up for a question or two.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
So you know a little something about Emerson and Copeland, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
When did Copeland get started?
That's a good question. 1933 or maybe 1919. I can't remember. It was the Edmund J. Copeland, I think his name was.
He's really close.
It was closer than I would be.
Well, you got a point there. Edmund Copeland.
Yeah.
What was your one of your guesses was 1919, right?
Yeah.
We'll go with 1921. 1921.
Close
and
enough in my book.
Do you remember where he started all that?
Ohio. Somewhere in Ohio.
Oh, you're jumping ahead a little bit. He started in Detroit.
Oh, it was Detroit. You're 100%. It was. Yeah, it was Detroit.
Yeah, 1921. And very similar to Mads Clausen over in Denmark with Danfoss. Started making valves and things like that. And he's like, hey, I think refrigeration can get better if I make the right products. Yeah. So, and then so he's working on this, and then the Depression hits in the U.S., and then in 1937, they moved it to Sydney, Ohio.
Yeah, that's right. It was Detroit. I remember I did a bunch of research on him years and years ago, just trying to figure out, like, where did this all start? Why am I even doing this? You know what I mean? Yeah.
So do we give him partial credit for that?
No. Way off.
He did the homework, so that counts for something. All right. Hey, we're going to close it out here, but really thank you for being on. It's been a really interesting conversation. You talk to people in all kind of different parts of this industry, and so we wanted to ask you a few questions just to kind of get your take on things, and really appreciate you having us do this.
Yeah, glad we could get you on, definitely.
Awesome. Yeah. I really want to thank you guys.
Yeah. Thanks.
We'll have to do it again sometime.
That's right. Once we get like you said, the industry's evolving, and there's going to be new technologies to talk about here before long. So, yeah, we certainly could. All right. If you'd like to drop us an email with a suggestion for topics to cover, a question or comment, you can always email us at controllertalknorthamerica@danfoss.com. Thanks for listening. Our audio engineer really is Raul Garcia. We're in an undisclosed location in Baltimore County, Maryland. And Maria is working behind the scenes to make this happen, like usual. Until next time, for Chris Brown, I'm Dave Yoder. Stay cool.